When humans finally broke, the universe shuddered. Part 1: The Breaking Point. The ship moved through the darkness of space like a small fish in a very big ocean. It was called the Endurance, and it was a human ship. Not a powerful one, not an important one, just a small frigate that patrolled the edges of space where nobody else wanted to go. Lieutenant Park stood at her station on the bridge. She was 32 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. She had been in the Space Navy for 10 years, and in all that time, she had learned one simple truth: humans did not matter to the galaxy. The Galactic Concord had existed for thousands of years. 12 ancient species ruled it together. They had technology that humans could barely understand. They had ships that could destroy planets. They had laws and treaties and councils where they decided the fate of billions. And humans were allowed to exist, that was all. They were given the worst planets to live on. They were given the most dangerous jobs. When they asked for help, they were told to wait. When they complained, they were told to be grateful. Captain Lee sat in his command chair. He was 53 years old, and his hair had turned gray from too many years of disappointment. He had joined the Navy believing he could make a difference. Now, he just wanted to finish his service without losing any more of his crew. "Captain," said the young communications officer. His voice was shaking. "We are receiving a distress signal. It is from 442B. Closed his eyes for a moment. 442B was a human colony. 40,000 people lived there. Farmers, teachers, children, regular people trying to build a life on a world that nobody else wanted. "Set a course," he said. "Maximum speed." The Endurance jumped through hyperspace. When they arrived at the planet, felt her heart stop. The colony was burning. No, not burning, it was already dead. The fires had gone out hours ago. What remained was ash and silence and the twisted metal of destroyed buildings. Had seen death before, but nothing like this. Nothing so complete. "Scan for survivors," Captain Lee ordered. His voice was calm, but his hands were gripping his chair so hard that his knuckles had turned white. The chief engineer ran the scans. She was a quiet woman who rarely spoke, but when she looked up from her console, there were tears in her eyes. "No life signs, Captain. None at all." They sent teams down to the surface. Led one of them. She walked through streets that had once been full of life. Now they were full of bodies. Men, women, children, all of them dead. All of them arranged in strange patterns, like someone had taken time to position them carefully. It was a message. Understood that immediately. Someone wanted humans to see this. Someone wanted humans to know what had been done. "Weapons signatures," said one of her team members. "They did this, the Dominion." They were an aggressive species from the far side of the galaxy. They had been at war with various conquered members for centuries, but the conquered always found ways to calm things down. Diplomacy, they called it. Patience, they called it. Called it cowardice. When they returned to the ship, Captain Lee was already writing his report. He sent it to Concord High Command with full documentation of the massacre. 40,000 humans murdered. Proof of involvement. A request for justice. The response came 6 hours later. Was on the bridge when the message arrived. She watched Captain Lee read it. She watched his face change from hope to confusion to something she had never seen in him before. "Rage." "What does it say?" she asked. He turned the screen so everyone could see. The message was short. "The Galactic Concord acknowledges receipt of your report. The incident is regrettable. The matter will be addressed through appropriate diplomatic channels. All human vessels are ordered to withdraw from the sector immediately to avoid escalating tensions with the Dominion. Do not engage. Do not investigate further. Await instructions." Silence filled the bridge, was crying quietly, had her hand over her mouth. Even the lights seemed dimmer somehow. "Regrettable," Captain Lee said the word like it was poison on his tongue. 40,000 people, children, and they call it regrettable. Something changed in that moment, could feel it. Something in the air, something in the way the captain held himself. Something broke. Captain Lee stood up. He walked to the communications console and pushed gently aside. His fingers moved across the controls with sudden purpose. Sir asked, "What are you doing?" "Something I should have done years ago," he replied. He opened a channel, not to command, not to any official station. He opened a channel to every human ship in the galaxy, every freighter, every patrol vessel, every transport, every colony, all of them. "This is Captain Lee of the GSS Endurance," he said. His voice was steady now. The rage had turned into something colder, something harder. 12 hours ago, the Dominion murdered 40,000 humans on 442B. Men, women, and children. The Galactic Concord has ordered us to retreat and wait for diplomacy. He paused, could hear her own heartbeat. "I am not retreating," Captain Lee continued. "The Concord will not protect us. They never intended to protect us. We have waited 800 years for them to see us as equals. We have followed their rules, obeyed their laws, accepted their scraps, and buried our dead in silence. No more." He took a deep breath. "It is time we protected ourselves." He closed the channel. The bridge was silent. Everyone was staring at him. What he had just done was treason. He had disobeyed direct orders. He had called for rebellion. But when looked around at her, she did not see fear. She saw something else, something that had been buried for a long time. She saw hope. And far across the galaxy, on 1,000 different ships, humans heard the message. They looked at each other. They thought about the dead. They thought about the centuries of insults and dismissals and broken promises. And one by one, they made a choice. When humans finally broke, the universe shuddered. Part 2: The Quiet Before Thunder. In the weeks after Captain Lee's message, the Galactic Concord noticed something strange. Human ships were disappearing. Not destroyed, not captured, just gone. They stopped answering calls. They left their assigned positions. They vanished into the dark spaces between stars where sensors could not reach. The elder races were not worried at first. They assumed the humans were running away. This is what weak species did when they were scared. They hid. They waited for the storm to pass. The Concord had seen it many times before. They were wrong. Admiral Sara was 67 years old. She had spent her entire life in service to the Galactic Concord Navy. She had followed every rule. She had earned every promotion the hard way. She had believed that if humans worked hard enough and proved themselves worthy, the elder races would accept them as equals. 40,000 dead bodies had shown her the truth. She stood on the bridge of the Concord battleship Indomitable. It was not a human ship. Humans were not allowed to command battleships, but that was before. Now she had taken the ship with the help of its human crew members. They had locked the alien officers in their quarters and changed the security codes. "Admiral," said her communications officer, "we are ready to broadcast." Sara looked at herself in the reflection of the dark, gray hair, wrinkled face, a uniform covered in medals she had earned by being obedient. She had been a good soldier. She had been loyal. And what had loyalty gotten her people? Death, dismissal, a message calling genocide regrettable. "Open the channel," she said. Her face appeared on screens across the galaxy. Human colonies, human ships, human stations. Everyone saw her. "I am Admiral Sara," she said. "As of today, I am resigning my commission in the Galactic Concord Navy. As of today, I am assuming command of the United Human Armada." She let those words sink in. The United Human Armada. It sounded grand. In truth, it was just a collection of stolen ships, old freighters, and patrol vessels held together by hope and anger. But it was theirs. "For centuries, we asked permission to exist," Sora continued. "We asked permission to colonize worlds nobody wanted. We asked permission to defend ourselves. We asked permission to grieve our dead. Those days are over. We will no longer ask. We will take what is ours by right. We will protect our own. She paused. To my fellow humans I say this. Come home, join us. Let us build something together that they cannot ignore. She ended the transmission. Around her the bridge crew was silent. Then, who had transferred from the Endurance, began to clap. Others joined her. Soon the whole bridge was applauding. Sora did not smile. There was too much work to do. Far away, on a hidden station orbiting a dead star, Lieutenant Park was learning secrets. The station had no official name. It did not appear on any map. The Conquered did not know it existed. For decades, human scientists had worked here in complete secrecy, studying things that were forbidden. Dr. Minu led her through corridors that smelled of recycled air and old metal. He was a thin man with glasses and nervous hands. He talked quickly, like someone who had spent too many years with only his thoughts for company. The Conquered banned certain research thousands of years ago, he explained. They said it was too dangerous. They said some doors should never be opened. We believed them. We followed their rules. And now asked. Minu stopped walking. They had reached a large door with multiple security locks. He placed his hand on the scanner and leaned close for the retinal scan. Now we have opened the door, he said. The room beyond was massive. In its center sat a machine unlike anything had ever seen. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Lights pulsed through it like blood through veins. The air around it felt strange, like reality itself was holding its breath. We call it the resonance engine, Minu said. It does not break the laws of physics. It bends them. In small, controlled ways, it can make the universe forget its own rules. Stared at the machine. What does that mean? It means we can create zones where cause and effect become flexible, where time flows differently, where matter behaves in impossible ways. He looked at her with eyes that held both pride and fear. It means we finally have a weapon that the elder races cannot counter. Understood the importance of this. For 800 years, humans had fought with inferior technology. Their ships were slower. Their weapons were weaker. They survived through cleverness and sacrifice, but they always lost in the end. Now, for the first time, they had an advantage. Why are you showing me this? She asked. Because Admiral wants you to lead the team that will deploy it, Minu replied. You have a reputation for unconventional thinking. We need someone who can use this weapon wisely. Looked at the resonance engine. She thought about the dead on 442B. She thought about all the years of humiliation. She thought about what it would mean to finally fight back with a real chance of winning. I will do it, she said. 3 weeks later, the Dominion attacked another human world. This time, they expected no resistance. They brought 50 warships to destroy a colony of 20,000 people. They thought it would be easy. They were wrong. The United Human Armada was waiting. 12 ships against 50. It should have been a slaughter. But one of those 12 ships carried the resonance engine. Gave the order to activate it. Reality bent. Space twisted. For 11 minutes, the laws of physics became suggestions rather than rules. Ships tried to fire their weapons and found that their missiles had turned into frozen light. They tried to retreat and discovered that their engines were pushing them backward in time by fractions of a second, trapping them in loops of confusion. When it was over, all 50 ships were destroyed. The human fleet had lost 2 vessels. 20,000 colonists were evacuated safely. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. The elder races heard and could not believe it. They demanded answers. The Conquered called emergency meetings. And in the dark spaces between stars, humans looked at each other with new expressions on their faces. Not fear, not despair. Pride. For the first time in 800 years, someone had taken them seriously. For the first time, they had made the galaxy pay attention. The quiet was over, the thunder was coming. When humans finally broke, the universe shuddered. Part 3. The galaxy takes notice. The Great Council Chamber of the Galactic Concord had existed for 10,000 years. It was built on a station at the center of known space, a place considered neutral ground by all 12 elder species. The walls were made of crystal that sang when light touched them. The ceiling showed the stars themselves, turning slowly in their eternal dance. For the first time in living memory, the chamber was filled with fear. Representatives of the 12 elder species sat in their ancient seats. They were beings of great power and greater pride. Some had bodies of flowing light. Others were giants made of living stone. A few looked almost human, but their eyes held the weight of. They had gathered to discuss one topic: humanity. 50 warships, said the representative, a creature of sharp angles and cold blue skin. 50 of our finest vessels destroyed by a species we considered beneath notice. How is this possible? Our scientists are still analyzing the data, replied another elder, a being who existed as a cloud of golden particles. The weapons they used should not exist. The energy signatures match nothing in our records. They broke the prohibition, said a third voice, deep and ancient. They studied the forbidden physics, the same research we banned 12,000 years ago after the third extinction. Silence fell. The third extinction was not spoken of often. It was a time when a species had tried to bend reality itself and had nearly destroyed half the galaxy in the process. The survivors had agreed that some knowledge was too dangerous. They had buried it deep. Now the humans had dug it up. The doors of the council chamber opened. A small figure walked in. Ambassador was 70 years old, with silver hair and a back that refused to bend despite her age. She had been the human representative to the Concord for 30 years. For 30 years, she had smiled and nodded and accepted whatever scraps the elder races offered. Today she did not smile. "You summoned me," she said. Her voice was quiet, but it filled the chamber. "Ambassador," said the council speaker, a being of pure white light, "the Galactic Concord demands an explanation. Your species has developed weapons in violation of the universal prohibition. You have attacked vessels of the Dominion. You have." "We defended ourselves," interrupted. Her voice was still calm. "The murdered 40,000 of our people. We asked for justice. You told us to wait for diplomacy. Then they attacked again, and we were ready this time." "You cannot simply decide to ignore the laws of the Concord," the representative snarled. "You are a minor species. You have no right." "We have every right." His voice rose slightly. "For 800 years we followed your laws, we obeyed your rules, we accepted your decisions even when they were unfair. And what did we receive in return? Contempt, dismissal, our dead called regrettable." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every elder being. "You taught us something valuable," she continued. "You taught us that in this galaxy only the powerful are heard, only the dangerous are respected, so we became dangerous. We became powerful, and now suddenly you want to talk." The council speaker leaned forward. "Ambassador, you must understand the gravity of this situation. The weapons you have created are unstable. They threaten the fabric of reality itself. If you continue to use them, then stop them from attacking us," said simply. "Punish them for the massacre on 442B. Give us justice and we will consider peace. We cannot simply punish a major species because of your demands. There are procedures, negotiations. These things take time." Nodded slowly. She had expected this answer. She had heard versions of it her entire career. "Wait, be patient, your time will come." "We have waited long enough," she said. "The United Human Armada will continue to defend our people. If they attack again, we will respond. If the Conquered tries to stop us, we will respond. We did not want this war, but we will not surrender our right to exist." She turned and walked toward the door. Behind her, the elder races erupted in argument. Some wanted to attack humanity immediately. Others counseled caution. They demanded blood. Did not look back. While the Conquered debated, Park led a mission to rescue humans trapped in space. Intelligence officer Han had discovered that they were holding thousands of human prisoners in a detention facility on one of their moons. They had been captured over many years from attacked ships and raided colonies. The facility is heavily guarded, warned them. Getting in will be difficult. Getting out will be almost impossible. Studied the plans. She saw the guard positions, the weapon systems, the patrol schedules. It was a fortress designed to keep people in forever. Almost impossible is not the same as impossible, she said. We go in. The mission was brutal. They lost good people getting through the outer defenses. They lost more fighting through the corridors, but they reached the prisoners. What they found they would haunt for the rest of her life. They had been experimenting on humans. They wanted to understand why this weak species refused to die. They had performed surgeries without anesthesia. They had tested chemical weapons on living subjects. They had done things that could not describe, even in her own mind. The survivors were thin and broken. Some could not walk, some could not speak. But when they saw human soldiers coming to rescue them, they cried. They reached out with trembling hands. They whispered words of thanks. Carried a child who could not have been more than 6 years old. The girl had burns on her arms from experiments. Her eyes were empty of everything except fear. It is okay, told her. You are safe now, we have you. They escaped the facility with 700 survivors. It was a fraction of those who had been held there. The rest had died in captivity. When they returned to the fleet, made her report to Admiral, she did not hide anything. She showed the videos. She presented the medical data. She let the truth speak for itself. Admiral watched in silence. When the report was finished, she sat still for a long moment. Send copies to every ship in the Armada, she said finally. Send copies to every human colony. Let our people see what we are fighting against. Let them understand why we cannot stop. The videos spread. Humans across the galaxy saw the horrors. They saw the children. They saw the experiments. They saw the evil that had been done to their brothers and sisters. And their anger, which had been hot before, turned cold. It turned into something harder, something that would not break. The Conquered issued an ultimatum. Humanity had 30 days to disarm and surrender their leaders for trial. If they refused, they would be declared enemies of galactic civilization. Admiral's response was simple. She jumped her entire fleet into conquered space, not to attack, just to be there, just to show that humans would not be pushed into corners anymore. The galaxy held its breath. War was coming, and no one knew how it would end. When humans finally broke, the universe shuddered. Part 4: Gods and Monsters. The war came like a storm that had been building for centuries. The Galactic Conquered assembled a fleet of 300 warships from 5 different elder species. It was the largest military force gathered in 1,000 years. They intended to crush the human rebellion quickly and completely. They expected it to be easy. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of his ship, the Endurance. It was the same ship he had commanded when this all began. The same ship that had found the dead on 442B. It was old and small and should have been retired years ago. But it was still flying, and so was he. Enemy fleet approaching, reported from his station. 312 vessels. They will be in weapons range in 10 minutes. Looked at his crew. Was at her engineering console making final adjustments. Was tracking communications. A dozen others sat at their posts doing their jobs. How many ships do we have? Asked. 31, Captain. 31 against 300. It was suicide. Every officer in the fleet knew it. They had volunteered anyway. Open a channel to all ships, ordered. His fingers moved across his console. Channel open, sir. Stood up from his chair. He thought about what to say. He thought about grand speeches and inspiring words. Then he decided to keep it simple. This is Captain Lee. Today we fight. Not because we want to, but because we must. For 800 years they told us we were nothing. Today we show them what nothing can do. All ships engage at will." He closed the channel and sat back down. "Take us in, helm. Maximum speed. Aim for the center of their formation." The Endurance shot forward. Around it 30 other human ships did the same. They were outnumbered. They did not care. The conquered fleet opened fire. Space filled with light and death. Human ships died in the first seconds of battle, but the survivors kept coming. Ship carried a resonance engine, not the big one that controlled, but a smaller version, less powerful, less stable. Minyu had warned him that using it at close range was dangerous, possibly fatal. Did not care about possibly. He said calmly, "Activate the engine on my mark." "Captain, at this range." "I know, on my mark." The Endurance dove into the heart of the conquered fleet. Enemy ships surrounded it on all sides. Weapons fire struck the hull. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the bridge. Now said, "Activated the engine." Reality broke. For a fraction of a second, the laws of physics became confused. Cause and effect switched places. Light moved backward. Matter forgot what it was supposed to be. 11 conquered warships simply stopped existing in any normal sense. They became twisted sculptures of impossible angles. They became frozen moments of destruction that would hang in space for centuries. They became warnings. The Endurance survived, barely. Half the ship was gone. Life support was failing. Most of the crew was dead. But Captain Lee was still alive. He pulled himself to the communications console. Blood ran down his face. His left arm would not move. "This is Captain Lee," he said, broadcasting to the remaining conquered ships. "We never wanted this war. You pushed us until we had no choice. Now live with the consequences." He closed his eyes. His ship drifted, broken but undefeated. Across the battlefield, the tide of war shifted. Human ships fought with a fury that shocked the elder races. They did not retreat when damaged. They did not surrender when outnumbered. They crashed their dying ships into enemy vessels. They fought until there was nothing left to fight with. By the end of the day, the conquered fleet was in retreat. They had destroyed 18 human ships. They had lost 93 of their own. The elder races had never lost a battle so badly. They had never faced an enemy so willing to die. Far from the battle, in the hidden research station, Dr. Minyu worked frantically at his instruments. Something was wrong. The resonance engines were working as designed, but they were causing effects he had not predicted. "What is it?" asked. She had just returned from leading a strike on a supply depot. She was tired, but Minyu's message had sounded urgent. "The engine bends reality," Minyu said. "It creates small distortions in the fabric of space-time. I thought these distortions would fade away naturally. They are not fading. They are accumulating." "What does that mean?" Minyu turned to face her. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. "It means we are attracting attention. Something has noticed what we are doing. Something very, very old." "Felt cold? What kind of something?" "I do not know, but it is big. Bigger than planets. Bigger than stars. It exists in the spaces between dimensions, and it is waking up." He showed her the readings. She did not understand the mathematics, but she understood the shape of them. Something was moving toward their reality. Something vast. "The elder races banned this research for a reason," Minyu said. "They were not just afraid of the weapons. They were afraid of what the weapons would wake up." "Can we stop it?" "I do not know. I do not even know what it is. The old records call it different things. The sleeper, the architect, the first. It has been dormant since before life evolved on most worlds." Looked at the readings. She thought about the war. She thought about the dead. She thought about all the things humans had done to survive. "If we stop using the engines, will it go back to sleep?" "Maybe, maybe not. It has already noticed us. It is already curious." Before could respond. Every alarm in the station began to sound, but they were not warning of attacks or system failures. Something else was happening. Across the galaxy, every sentient being felt it at the same moment, human and alien alike, soldiers and civilians, young and old. A presence touched their minds, not painful, not gentle, just there, vast beyond comprehension, ancient beyond imagining. And then a question came, not in words, in pure meaning that translated itself into every language. What have you done? The feeling lasted only a moment, then it was gone, but nobody who felt it would ever forget. Something had awakened, something that made the elder races look like children, something that had shaped the universe itself. And it wanted to know what the humans had done. When humans finally broke, the universe shuddered. Part 5: The Shuddering. Every ship in the galaxy stopped moving. Engines died, weapons went cold, communications fell silent. For one eternal moment nothing worked, nothing moved, nothing breathed. Then the presence arrived. It did not have a body. It did not need one. It existed in the spaces between atoms, in the gaps between moments of time, in the mathematics that held reality together. The elder races had called it many names in their oldest stories: the architect, the first, the dreamer. It had been sleeping since before the stars were born. It had shaped the laws of physics the way an artist shaped clay. Then it had withdrawn, leaving behind a universe that could grow and evolve on its own. Now it was awake. Park stood alone on the bridge of her ship. Everyone else had frozen in place, caught in a moment that stretched forever. She did not know why she could still move. She did not know why she had been chosen. She felt the presence focusing on her. It was like standing in front of the sun, not painful but overwhelming, too much to comprehend. Why? The question came without words. It was pure meaning, pushed directly into her mind. Why what? She asked. Her voice sounded small. Why did you bend MY laws? Why did you knock on the door? Thought about all the reasons. The dead on 442B, the centuries of humiliation, the prisoners in the camps, the children who had been experimented on, the future that had been. Because we had no choice, she said finally. Because they were killing us and nobody would help. Because we wanted our children to survive. The presence was silent for a long time, could feel it examining humanity, not just her, all of them. Every human mind in the galaxy was open to it like a book. Others have bent MY laws before. They sought power. They sought dominion. They sought to remake reality in their own image. We just wanted to live, said. I know, I see your HEARTS. I see your fear and your anger and your hope. I see what they did to you. I see what you did in return. Waited. She did not know if the presence would help them or destroy them. She did not know if it could be reasoned with at all. You broke the rules I left behind, the rules that kept the universe stable, the rules that prevented worse things than war. We did not know, said. We only knew that our people were dying. Ignorance is not an excuse, but your intents matter. You were not seeking power for its own sake. You were seeking survival. The presence seemed to shift. Its attention moved away from and spread across the entire galaxy. Every sentient being felt it examining them, human and alien alike. I have been sleeping for a very long time. I left you alone because I believed you could find your own way. I believed you could learn to coexist. I was wrong. Something changed, felt it in her bones. Reality itself was being rewritten. The damage you have done to spacetime will be healed. The weapons you created will be stabilized. You may keep them, but know that I am watching now. Know that I will not sleep so deeply again. Around the galaxy, frozen moments began to move again. Ships restarted, people breathed, time flowed normally once more. But something was different. Everyone felt it. A weight that had been invisible was now noticed, a presence that would never fully leave again. You have earned the right to exist. You have earned the right to defend yourselves, but you have also earned a responsibility. Grow, learn, become worthy of what you have done. The presence began to withdraw. Before it faded entirely, it spoke once more. Not to everyone. The door has been opened. It cannot be closed. What comes next is up to you. Then it was gone, not completely. Could still feel it far away like a heartbeat in the distance, but it had returned to its sleep or something close to it. The war ended the next day. The conquered called for peace talks, the dominion from human space. The elder races looked at humanity with new eyes, not with contempt, not with arrogance, with respect. And fear, always fear. 1 year later, ambassadors stood before the reformed Galactic Council. Humans were now full members with equal voting rights. Their worlds were protected by treaty. Their people were citizens of the galaxy. She gave a speech about cooperation and hope. She talked about the future they could build together. She was polite and diplomatic. But everyone in the chamber knew the truth. Humanity had not been given its place. Humanity had taken it. Captain Lee had survived his injuries. He retired to a quiet colony world where he grew flowers from Earth and watched the stars at night. Sometimes young officers came to visit him, to hear his stories. He always told them the same thing. We did not win because we were stronger. We won because we refused to stop. Remember that. Dr. Minu continued his research, but carefully now. He understood what the presence had meant. Some doors, once opened, changed everything. His job was to make sure humanity was ready for what lay beyond. Admiral Sara passed away peacefully in her sleep, 3 years after the war ended. Her funeral was attended by representatives from every species in the galaxy. They came to honor the woman who had led humanity from the shadows into the light. In Park, she stood on the observation deck of the first true human flagship, watching a binary star system spin in the eternal dark. She was a fleet commander now, one of the highest-ranking officers in the United Human Armada. A young ensign approached her. He looked nervous, fresh from the academy probably, full of questions. "Commander Park," he said, "may I ask you something?" Nodded. "Go ahead." "What do we do now? The war is over. The galaxy has changed. What is our purpose?" Thought about the question. She thought about the presence that slept in the foundations of reality. She thought about the door that had been opened and could never be closed. "Our purpose," she said slowly, "is to become what they always feared we could be." The ensign looked confused. "What is that?" Smiled. It was not a warrior's smile. It was the smile of someone who had found peace after a long journey. Not conquerors, not destroyers, something better, something worthy of the gift we were given. She watched the stars. They burned in the darkness, billions of years old, full of secrets humanity had only begun to understand. "We become the species that knocks on doors," said, "and when they open, we step through together. Not just humans, everyone. That is what the architect wanted us to learn. That is why it let us live." The ensign nodded slowly. He did not fully understand, but he would, in time. Far away, in the spaces between atoms, something ancient listened. It had been watching humanity since the moment they bent reality for the first time. It had judged them and found them worthy. But worthy of what? That was the question that still remained. The universe shuddered once more, not in fear this time, in anticipation. The humans had broken through one door. Many more remained. And they were just getting started.